What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Kandi and the Gang. This is season 1, episode number 6, and the episode was titled Too Many Tuckers in the Kitchen, you guys. So, before we go ahead and get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not subscribed to the channel, then I'm gonna need you guys to do me that solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know you can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and sharing the video, you guys. And with that out the way, without further ado, let us go ahead and discuss Kandi and the Gang, shall we? Don't you wanna go to the place to be where strangers become family over raw chicken and mac and cheese from three old ladies recipe? Won't you and your family come and hang with Kandi and the Gang? I love that theme song, you guys. It's so catchy. Love that theme song. I know there's an extended version of the theme song. I need to download that mug, right? Alright, guys, so let's go ahead and get into the episode. Now, actually, before I do get into the episode, I do want to say that Kandi just, liked my tweet and quote retweeted me. So I tweeted out about Brian that we really need to extend the hands of prayer for Brian. And I'm going to discuss that in a little bit later in the review. Actually, what happened in the beginning of the episode was Nora, she was at the hostess stand, right? And I had saw this video before where the two girls came in there dressed as older women, right? And I saw this on social media because I saw those two young ladies on social media. And then I remember the first episode when they showed Mama Joyce, getting crunk with them, right? Turning up with them, right? And they just started twerking. I was like, when I first saw it, I saw it on like the Shade Room or something like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, these are literally two grandmas twerking. And then I looked at them like, nah, these are girls dressed as older women, right? So Chandrika, in this episode, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Chandrika was annoying my spirit. She was getting on my last damn nerve, right? So, and I'm like, wait a minute. So she was in the middle of her shift, right? So Torin came in. He had on some of her sunglasses, her eyewear that she makes, right? So Torin came in and she took Torin out back, left the hostess stand unattended, and proceeded to go outside and talk to Torin. I was like, this is ain't no way. Cause if I come in and you not at your post, I'm gonna come find you, be like, what the hell? Why are you not at your post? Like, the stuff that Chandrika and Dom and a lot of these people do which is the real world, right? But it's kind of convoluted because of this television show, right? And honestly, the things that a lot of these people do would be grounds for termination in if we took out the reality show aspect. The things that most of these people are doing are definitely grounds for termination. Like when the first episode, when Chandrika was late, like if you're late to work, granted your pay get docked, but you also get written up. Like you get written up for however many times you're late, right? Like in my last job that I had, at my last job, they gave you a 15-minute grace period, right? And then also what you could do is you could call our attendance line, and you can tell the attendance line like, hey, I'm gonna be late, so I'm gonna be late, about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you still get your pay docked, right? But if you didn't call in, you're gonna get written up, right? And I just don't understand it, right? Again, it's the reality show, so I get that aspect. But like I said, if you took these cameras out, a lot of these people would not have jobs, right? Because the things that they're doing are insubordinate, right? So Chandrika is telling Torin about the conversation that she had with Kandi and Tyler, right? And she's talking about the fact that she felt like, Melvin and Patrick were the ones that may have told Kandi because that's what they said, right? And my thing with Chandrika is, at this point, you can clearly see what it is with Chandrika. Chandrika doesn't remember who she's had conversations with, right? So that's what Chandrika is playing a game of. She don't know who she can't remember who she's had a conversation with. So she's trying to backtrack and be like, okay, I talked to this person, I talked to that person, I talked to you two, But then I talk to this person. Child, I just talk to everybody. And that's eventually what she said. She just talks to everybody. And my thing is, we know in the workplace, you get frustrated with your job, right? And you vent to other coworkers, you vent to your family, your friends, you vent to people, right? Now, see, me personally, when I get to the point like that where I'm venting every day to people about my job, this laptop right here, I get on this laptop. Well, my old, what I used to do before I even had this laptop, I've done this at plenty. I've done this at my job when I worked at Hertz. I use a personal computer to go on Indeed to look for jobs. Nobody was none the wiser. My job at when I used to work at Allstate, I didn't use their personal computer because actually, yes, I did. I used their personal computers to update my resume, but I didn't apply for jobs there, right? Because I was applying internally and externally, and I could never get anything internally. So I said, you know what, forget it. We're gonna have to go externally, right? But if I'm unhappy with the job, what I do is either I get on this phone and go on Indeed, or I'm hop on this laptop and get on Indeed. I'm getting on Indeed somewhere because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to go to this job every day upset, angry, pissed off. Like, why did I come here? Because that's literally, especially when I worked at Hertz, it got to that point where every morning I would wake up because I had to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I used to have to wake up about 6:30 in the morning to make it to work on time because I live maybe 15, 20 minutes from my job, right? And every morning I would just wake up just frustrated and pissed off before I even went into the office. And I'm like, you know what? I can't keep doing this to myself, right? Like, I can't do this to myself, be pissed off and upset before I even get to work. And then when I get there, it's intensified because of the rude customers, right? So, Chandrika, you might want to look for something else, right? And then you got a side hustle. Girl, put all your money and your efforts into that side hustle and try to make it lucrative, right? So then we see Kandi. So Kandi went to visit Melvin and Patrick, right? So we find out that Patrick is named after her brother. We all know the situation with Melvin, that Melvin lived with her at one point, right? So they take her around that apartment, and I'm like, that's it. And then you look at the apartment. It's interesting, right, with Patrick. Patrick is pussy whipped, right? And the thing with Patrick is Safari has so much say in that apartment, but I ain't never once heard that Safari lives in this apartment. So I'm like, why do you relinquish so much control to this girl who doesn't live here, doesn't pay rent here? You won't have a say so in this apartment unless you putting in on it, right? So then he tells Kandi that he wanted to have a housewarming party, but you know, Safari wasn't feeling that, right? And Kandi was like, well, you know, we do a lot of stuff when we get into a relationship, but I just feel like Patrick is losing himself in, what's that girl's name? Safari. And I agree with that, right? You know, I can see who's in control of this relationship. I think we all see who's in control of this relationship, right? And you know, she says, well, you know, I do understand her not wanting Chandrika here at the housewoman, but she's a little too controlling. Absolutely. And I think that Patrick needs to put his damn foot down. Like, put your foot down and say, hey, this is my apartment. If I want to have a housewarming party, damn it, I'm gonna have a housewarming party. I don't care what you say. Unless you want to chip in on a bill or two, you know, pay the water bill, pay a light bill, pay a gas bill, you know, pay some kind of bill, pay the electric bill, pay, you know, cable, something. Something. If you ain't doing nothing, you can't control nothing that goes on over here. So what I'm gonna I stuttered. What I'm gonna do right here, you guys, is pause and we're gonna move forward. All right, you guys. So then we see Don Juan, we see Philip, and they're talking to Kandi and Todd, right? I have some mixed feelings about this situation with Don Juan because I get it that you're checking the ring camera. And for me, with this whole situation with the ring camera, it feels to me, and I could be wrong, right? But it feels like to me, what it is with Don Juan is that how it can be perceived. Let me say this, not how I feel. How it can be perceived is that you're watching these ring cameras because you don't trust your staff, right? But at the same time, you're finding things that the staff is saying, right? You found out Chandrika said that, you know, Kandi and Todd don't give up about the restaurant, right? And then you showed them this video of Dom and Brandon making out and hugging, right? So Todd feels like one of them needs to go. And I'm glad Kandi said something because y'all situation is similar. Todd, you worked in production on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Kandi was the talent. You guys got together. So pot, do what? Meet kettle. Just saying. So then Don is telling Kandi and Todd about this girl named Pebbles who works in the restaurant, right? And she told him about Brian having a bottle of wine. And I don't know if she said it was behind the bar or what, but Brian is drinking wine, right? And you guys know Brian has told us about his story with his sobriety, right? He's a recovering alcoholic and a drug addict, right? And my heart literally goes out to Brian. Like I just want the best for Brian. Like I love Brian. Brian is my favorite on this show, next to Philip. But Brian is actually my favorite on this show, and I just enjoy Brian, his sense of humor, his light, his aura. I love Brian, and I just want the best for Brian, right? So then the OLGs come in, right? So what they're doing is they're looking to expand the business. I'm like, this is a good idea, right? And I'm glad that this is something that we see Don Juan and Philip were talking about. But I'm pretty sure this has something to do with Todd, right? So what they want to do now is they want to, make some, and I think this will be good. Like, how if you guys, I don't know now. Chicken Express, I don't know if that's, I don't know how many are outside of Texas and outside of the South, right? But there's this. I mean, well, let's talk about Chicken Express, Chick-fil-A, and Popeyes, right? Like how you go to those restaurants, you can buy the gallon of sweet tea and lemonade, right? You can do that. I think you can buy sweet tea and lemonade at KFC and stuff like that, right? But at the restaurants, you can buy their gallon of sweet tea, their gallon of lemonade. I wonder if Kandi and Todd them do have sweet tea because they on their little board. It had lemonade, barbecue sauce, and their seasoning. Kind of like, now I know that this is not a big chain, Whataburger. I know that that's not a big chain for a lot of places, right? But in the South, in Texas, we have a place called Whataburger. They have their barbecue sauce that they sell in the store. They have their ketchup that they sell in the store. Actually, more specifically, we could talk about Chick-fil-A. You guys know Chick-fil-A has their Polynesian sauce, their Chick-fil-A sauce, right? That they sell in the stores. So that's what they're looking to do. And I'm like, okay, expand the business, right? But y'all, at the same time, I get that they want to expand the business, but you guys also have to buckle down on what's going wrong in the restaurant. Like, we still got to figure out what the hell is going wrong in the restaurant. Just saying. But the OLGs are with it, right? So then Todd tells them, like, okay, so I'm going to go in the kitchen, right? He's going to go in the kitchen. He's going to work in the kitchen. I think that's a good idea. You need to go into the kitchen so that way so if people come at you with a complaint, you know how to rectify the situation, right? And also, while you're at it, Todd, get that generator, buddy. Go ahead and get that generator. So then we see Don Juan, and he's talking to Brian, and this is where Kandi quote retweeted my tweet. Because when Brian was talking to Don Juan, my heart was just bleeding for him, right? Because like I said, I love Brian, and Brian is one of my favorites on this show. And I tweeted that we just need to extend the hands of prayer for Brian, right? Like, I just, listening to Brian talk to Don Juan, and I love the fact that Don Juan was telling him he's just worried about him. He wants to check in with him because he doesn't want it to be a point where, we saw the signs, we didn't say anything, and then we get a phone call or a notification that something bad has happened to Brian, right? Like, Brian was talking about how he went to he went to rehab, but it didn't work for him, right? I think Brian, I don't know how to say. I'm trying to say this in the most sensitive of ways, right, you guys? I'm really trying to say this in a sensitive way because I don't want it to come off insensitive. But Brian said that rehab didn't work for him, right? I need Brian to find some kind of an avenue, right? Because you can't do it on your own. You need someone there, right? If you can't do rehab, why not do AA? If you can't do AA, if you can't do AA, you at least need get a sober coach, get a sober living coach, get get a sober buddy, get someone that can, be in your corner. Get someone who has been down that road before, that can be that sounding board for you, right? When you feel the need to want to have a drink, to feel the need to want to, take a drug, right? Because I know that there are going to be good days and I know there are going to be bad days, but you just need someone that's going to be a sounding board that you can call and be like, hey, that urge is hitting me really hard, right? And I just want that from Brian, right? I really do want that. And honestly, when it comes to Brian, especially, I always find it quite interesting to me. I always find it quite interesting, right? Because I told you guys before, my mom, she was a substance abuse counselor for years, right? And she's told me the stories, right? And I always feel like when someone tells you that they are a recovering drug addict, right? I always feel when it comes to drug addicts and alcoholics, they're always chasing a fix, right? You can get them off a drug. That's why I always figure when it comes to drug addicts and alcoholics, especially a drug addict, right? I don't think a drug addict should even drink, right? Because that can be addictive as well, right? So when you slip into drinking, you could then become addicted to that, which could then spiral you back into the drugs, right? So I just really want the best from Brian, and I just feel like if Brian can't do, you know, rehab, he might want to look into AA. If AA wasn't a help for him, he needs someone that is a recovering addict that can be a sounding board to him, someone that he can just call, confide in, and just tell them, I'm not feeling at my strongest right now. Can you talk me through this, right? I just want something. I just want the best from Brian, and that's all I gotta say. So we're gonna pause here, you guys, and we're gonna move forward. All right, you guys. So then we move over to Patrick's crib, right? So Safari comes over with this plush beanbag, right? I was like, is this what we're calling decorating? Because they panned throughout the apartment. I was like, is that what we call decorations, Patrick? Child. Okay. I mean, I guess it was pretty bland and basic, but I mean, I guess if that's what we want to call decorations, go for it. So he tells Safari, hey, so I talked to my cousin Kandi. She feels like I should have the housewarming party. And guess what? I'm going to have the housewarming party. I'm like, about time you put your foot down. So then we got Chandrika. Chandrika was, at this point I tweeted, Chandrika was irking my spirit, right? Because Chandrika's talking to Shardo. She's talking to this person. She's talking to that person. Trying to figure out, who went and told Kandi and Ty what she said, right? So then, in that shirt that Shardo had on, my good dude, I'm gonna need you to burn that shirt because it was ugly. Just saying. So then, Shardo was talking to Don Juanita, right? And, he was telling Juanita that, Chandrika is going around trying to figure out who told Kandi and Ty what she said, right? So Don Juan tells her, come here. So she goes over to Don Juan and he says, come outside and talk to me. She says, outside, it's hot. So they go outside and talk. She says, so you going around asking everyone who told Kandi and Todd that you said they don't give up about the restaurant? And she was like, I don't even remember saying that. He says, well, what if I told you I was the one that told him that? So then he takes out his phone. He shows her the Ring camera. And then miraculously, Chandrika remembers saying it. She's like, oh, yeah, that was after the meeting. But you've been going around for the last 2 episodes now saying you ain't said it and trying to figure out who said it, right? Girl, go away. I like Chandrika, but she was just doing a lot in this episode. So then we move over, and remember, I told you guys earlier that Todd was going to go to the restaurant and work in it, right? So we see Mama Joyce, we see Aunt Nora, we see Aunt Bertha, we see Philip, we see everybody there, right? Baby, this is where the producer put his hand on Aunt Bertha's back, and she turned around like, don't you be getting, she was like, don't get fresh with her unless you paying her. I was like, oh my God, I love me some Aunt Bertha, right? Baby, we can see that Mama Joyce still cannot stand Todd, right? Because they were talking about, because at this point, Kandi and Todd showed up late, right? So Melvin is telling Kandi and Todd what they're going to be doing. He's telling everyone what they're going to be doing, right? Mama Joyce in that interview, baby. If I didn't know she hated Todd, these interviews solidify it, right? Because she was just livid and she was hot about the fact that Todd wants to fire Melvin, but he can't fire her because Kandi would have a bitch fit, basically, right? I was like, damn. And Bert's like, yeah, and if he did it, he beat his ass. Oh, these old ladies are a trip, baby. They killed me. So then we see them in the kitchen and they doing their thing, right? The one thing that I noticed was like they were cooking. I'm like, are y'all following any recipe? Because, and I was looking at them sweet potatoes when they were peeling. I'm like, is that a sweet potato? Because the one that Kandi had in her hand, it looked like when she was peeling it, it was falling apart. I'm like, is that supposed to happen? But then you see them when they making the sweet potatoes, right? And I think that was either cinnamon or brown sugar that they were pouring in there, and they weren't measuring nothing. I was like, so y'all was upset with Chandrika, right? But this is probably the reason. I mean, Chandrika didn't. From what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like she was lying, right? Because the cooks are following what they want to follow, right? And Kandi is like, I gave you guys the recipes, but y'all are doing y'all own thing. Once again, that's what Chandrika was saying. That when Melvin is there, the food tastes one way, but when Melvin is not there, the food tastes a different way. But y'all don't want to hear her. Todd. Y'all don't want to hear Chandrika. But y'all see it now. So, where we at? So yeah, they did that, and after they did that, they dispersed, right? Baby, Aunt Bertha, she went outside. She had to have a smoke. I'm like, Aunt Bertha, like, y'all working my nerves. So somebody on Twitter was like, she hoped that Aunt Bertha smokes Newports, but Aunt Bertha gives me the fact that she smoked Virginia Slims, or as people say here in Texas, pale male. That says Pall Mall. She gives me Virginia Slims or Pall Mall. Those are the ones that she gives me. And more specifically, she gives me Virginia Slims. She gives me Virginia Slims. All right, you guys, so we're going to pause here and we're going to wrap up the episode. Now, y'all, this scene right here, I could have done without seeing. I did not need to see Mama Joyce's butt cheeks. Didn't need to see Mama Joyce's butt cheeks, but Kandi and Mama Joyce went down to Safari's place, right? So they gonna get Mama Joyce's butt lifted. I'm like, oh God, I really didn't need to see that. Now I will say though, for a woman of her age, Mama Joyce looks damn good, right? So I'm not hating, but I just like I don't think I needed to see this. This wasn't something that was for my viewing eyes. I ain't really to see it, right? But Kandi is really going down there so she can have a conversation with Safari, right? And honestly, Kandi, that ain't your place, right? But Safari tells her that Patrick told her he's having a party and she's cool with it, right? She's not okay with Chandrika coming because she thinks that Chandrika hates her. I was like, huh? Y'all are childish. Y'all are very childish. Very. So then we move over and we see at the restaurant. So Brandon got pulled to the side by Philip and Don Juan, right? So they show him the footage of him and Dom, right? And, they tell him that, dating Dom is a huge conflict of interest, which absolutely is a huge conflict of interest. And my issue with Dom and with Brandon is the fact it's not the issue that y'all are dating, right? My issue with you guys are that you guys are doing things in the place of business, right? That's unprofessional as hell. And the fact that everyone knows, like, people can say that you, like, the fact that you haven't written Dom up, right? She didn't show up to the meeting. She did not show up to the meeting. She showed up late to work. So the things that she's doing, like I said, a lot of the things that these people have been doing are grounds for termination, right? And you haven't once written Dom up, right? and it could just be looked at as favoritism. So they asked him, what are y'all gonna do, right? So he said that he would be okay if they moved her to another location. I'm like, her? It's you. You pursued her, so they need to move. And they talked about moving him to Blaze or the other OLG, right? I'm like, it's not Dom that needs to be moved. It's you that need to be moved, right? So then we see Brandon. He went to Dominique's practice. Dominique, she is gorgeous, beautiful young lady, right? So he went down there to talk to her, right? And he told her that Don and Philip showed him the footage of them, right? So basically, in a nutshell, he tells them that they need to conduct themselves in a professional manner. Yeah, I should have been done that. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe she. Now, granted, like I said, they were and they got caught on the camera, so they weren't that smart, right? But at one point, Dom didn't want it, you know, in the restaurant, right? She was thinking about the job, but unfortunately, he really wasn't thinking about the business too much, right? But that's the end of the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Please leave your comments in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, share the video, and until the next time, you guys, stay safe out there, take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. So unfortunately, I won't be doing Love After Lockup. I will be back to doing Love After Lockup this Friday, you guys. So we'll be back this Wednesday with Married at First Sight. I just got to get caught up on the last 2 episodes, and I got to get caught up on this week's episode of Love After Lockup, and we'll be back. But I'll see you guys later.